So what is it, like Thursday? Hopefully have some good conversations tonight. I think I say that every fucking stream. Always hoping to actually have good conversations. Hey, thanks, Lupine. Hoping that we can have some good faith, linear debates about whether or not there's justification for theism. Went back to an old prompt. I don't know. Probably doesn't really make a difference, but just kind of switching things up and seeing how it goes. If it makes a difference to anything, I have no idea. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing in general. So, you know. But yeah, basically just looking to have good faith, linear conversations about whether or not there's justification to believe in God. Obviously, my position is that no such justification exists. But hey, maybe somebody will change my mind, right? That's kind of the goal, to have good conversations that actually could result in someone changing their mind. Whether that's me or the person I'm talking to, just as long as we're being honest and having good conversations and genuinely engaging in the topic. Always the goal. We'll do one of these and then one of these. Okay, just trying to get everything set up on my side here. But yeah, looking to talk to folks who are go step forward. No theist of the Abrahamic brand can have objective morality. I think it's possible to be an Abrahamic theist and have objective morality. You just can't base it in God, right? No, there's no rule that only formal arguments are allowed. That is not a rule here. But yeah. Thanks for the shares and the tapping on the screen, everybody. Appreciate it. If you are in, it's actually an old prompt, Lupine. I just decided to try out an old prompt again. I've used this one previously, and I've been running just the God is fiction for a really long time. Trying to switch things up and thinking about trying to do some more. Yeah, Fayborn. Divine command theory is subjective morals. That's definitely true. It's subjective deontology. But yeah, Lupine, it's a new prompt if you've only been here for, if you have, whatever. I mean, I used to run this prompt. There's other ones I used to run. I've been thinking about switching it up more. I don't think this one is massively different than the other one that I was running, but yeah, just thinking about trying to, keep it fresh, not always run the same thing every fucking time. But yeah, if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure you're 18 plus and you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hello, how old are you?
I'm 19.
Okay, do you believe in a God?
Yes, I do.
Fantastic. What God do you believe in?
I believe in like the God of all hands, like like Jesus Christ.
Okay, what do I call you? There's no like name
Zay.
that pops up.
Zay, you can call me Zay.
Zay, like Z-A-Y?
Yeah.
Okay. Have we spoken before?
No.
Okay. Fair enough. What would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide what I'm looking for here, rational justification to believe in God?
like like I would say like just faith. Like
Well, I'm looking for rational justification. Do you think that faith provides justification for believing in things?
yeah, I do.
Okay. So if I have faith that there is no God, then I'm justified in believing that there is no God?
Well, like everybody opinions matter, but like
Well, I'm just asking you to directly answer the question. You said it is the case that faith provides justification for beliefs, so I'm just making sure that if I have faith there is no God, then it's your position that I'm justified in believing that there is no God. Am I understanding correctly?
right.
Okay. So, I mean, if you think that believing that there is no God is a justified position, then it sounds like we agree.
Where but like the only thing is like what happened to you to make you not believe in God? Because like you ain't just come out the womb just not believing in God.
Well, everyone comes out of the womb not believing in God. There's no the babies don't have beliefs, right?
I
So,
just like what happened to you though? Like something had to
nope.
like
Nope,
something had to happen.
I'm just an honest person, and when I realized I didn't have any evidence to believe in God, I stopped believing in God. So that's why I'm looking to see if there is reason to believe in God. Maybe I missed something, And we both agreed that faith equally justifies believing there is no God as it does believing there is a God. So it doesn't sound like faith is
Okay,
going to
so
be
like,
able
do
to
you
resolve
believe
the
in the
dispute.
devil?
So what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would give us justification to believe in a God?
All right, so wait, so like, do you believe in the devil?
No, of course not.
So like, you just believe that like we just popped up and just like popped up and just appeared on Earth.
I don't know what you mean by that. It doesn't sound like something
So
that I believe in. But regardless, this is
how do
just
you
way
think we
off
got on
topic right
Earth?
now, Zay. This is totally off topic, Zay. What I'm asking you for is justification to believe in a God. Do you have anything like that? Like any kind of argument or evidence that would give us a reason to think that God actually exists?
Hold on, I'm trying to like think of it. Like I'm trying to think of a situation that I can say. So you say you want
Just
a
like anything else.
justification that God is real.
Like if I was trying to convince you that
Right.
that I can flap my arms really hard and fly,
Right.
you probably wouldn't believe me unless I gave you some kind of evidence. Now there might be different types of evidence. Oh, hey, thank you for the galaxy, Susie. That's fucking awesome. There might be different
Okay, so
types.
like, what about the Bible? What about the Bible? Like, what about the Book of Enoch?
Well, so I consider, those kinds of texts to be the claim, right? And what we're looking for here isn't just to hear the claim again. I'm already aware of the claims. I'm looking for evidence that would give me reason to believe in the claims.
Everything.
That was fucking awesome.
Like I kind of get what you're saying, but at the same time, it's just I'm just a person of faith, so I can't just like,
Well, we both
I
agreed that
can't just
faith
go
isn't.
somewhere,
We both
huh?
agreed that if we just each take our positions on faith, then we're on even ground, right? Because you have faith
Right.
that your position is correct. I have faith that your position is wrong. It doesn't sound like there's any way for us to resolve that dispute if we're only relying on faith. Sounds like we probably would need to appeal to something other than faith to resolve this.
Okay, so like, what about oh man, wait, like what is called like the little place that got like Jesus like sandals and like his robe and stuff that like
We don't have any artifacts from Jesus's lifetime. The closest I am aware of is the forged um, Shroud of Turin. But that, again, is a forgery. It's been known to be a forgery since it was first presented as, pretending to be an artifact. I mean, even the anti-pope at the time said this is not real, and he knew the guy who made it, right? So we've confirmed over and over and over and over again that the Shroud of Turin is a forgery. It's not real. It has nothing to do with Jesus. It didn't even exist until, about 1,300 years after Jesus died. So we have no reason to think
what
that,
about demons? What about demons?
yeah, they're not real.
So you think demons not real?
I'm very, very confident that there's no such thing as
So
demons.
so witches and voodoo and stuff like that, like
Yeah, it's all fake.
you don't believe in none of that.
Yeah, it's all fiction.
No, that's no. See, now I ain't gonna lie. What we
Well,
was
this is
just
all
talking
off
about,
topic. This is all off topic. Yes, those things are fiction, but it's off topic. Do you have any justification to believe in God, or should I just move on to the next person?
I can't give you no
Okay,
I can't pull up no kind of pictures or nothing like that. But
I didn't
it's
ask for
just
that.
like, yeah, but like you looking for like I don't know what kind of evidence you're looking for, but like
Anything that
I
would
don't
give me
think
a
you
reason to believe in God.
I don't think you're gonna find what you're looking for though.
Okay. Well, I mean, hey, it sounds like you agree that there are no reasons to believe in God. I appreciate the good faith conversation. Sincerely, I appreciate you for that. I'm going to move on to the next person, but I hope you have a good one. Okay, fair enough. So if you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining the guest queue, please make sure that you are 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi, Deshaun. How old are you?
We are Charlie.
Man, he got me on that one. Um, there was that guy's name was Deshaun, so I was all hopeful. I used to work with a guy named Deshaun, and that dude was so fucking cool. Like, Deshaun was fucking awesome. And I was hoping on hope the tiny possibility that that could be the really cool Deshaun that I know. Now, obviously, there's tons of other Deshaun's out there, but that was like the hope in my heart. I haven't talked to that guy in a lot. Now I'm just gonna be thinking about Deshaun. I haven't talked to that dude in forever. He was cool as fuck. Anyway, thank you so much everybody for the support. I'm probably gonna have to like up the goal on here because you guys are fucking crushing it. Yeah, I don't know, whatever. Just do like one of these and oh yeah, it's fucking stupid. Goddamn TikTok. Okay. Regardless, thank you guys so much for the support. All Deshaun's know each other. No, they're all just like one big Deshaun. It's like, have you ever heard the idea that maybe like all electrons are the same electron? All Deshaun's are just the same Deshaun, and they're all that one really cool dude that I worked with, which means all Deshaun's are cool as fuck. Which is, I have no reason to think that's not true. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for the support. Lupine, KC, Susie for the Galaxy, Fayborn Biologist, Alan, Triss, Bob is Anti-Theist. Thank you so much. And then, oh, Jesus Christ. Sometimes TikTok is, anyway, Saintly, Angry Neeson, Susie, Lupine again. Thank you guys. Sean, I sincerely appreciate it. Okay, all right. We'll bring up the next person. If you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining the guest queue, make sure that you are 18 plus, and then you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. All right, so we'll bring up Repent. Hi, Repent. How old are you?
I'm 36.
Okay. Do you believe in a God?
Yes, I believe in God.
Okay. And would I be correct in assuming it's the Christian God?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fantastic. What would you say is the best argument or evidence that would give us rational justification to believe in God?
Well, first I would question why the important, and I guess the importance of rationality, because I say that because like we're talking about the way we view God as like he makes the impossible possible. Like he raises people from the dead. Like.
Well, if God has always existed, then those things were never impossible, so he doesn't make the impossible possible. He just makes things that would otherwise be impossible possible, which maybe that's pedantic, but I would say that it's a significant distinction. But anyway, the reason that I care about rationality is all that really means is having a reason. If you're saying that you think it's a good idea to believe things without reason, well, then it's literally possible to believe in anything. If you're saying that it's a good idea to believe things and that you don't have a reason to believe, then there's literally nothing you could rule out. You could never say that anyone's ever wrong for any of their beliefs, but I think sometimes people are wrong about their beliefs. Do you think that sometimes people are wrong about their beliefs?
Oh, absolutely. But,
okay, and what makes them wrong when they have a wrong belief? Why is it that they're wrong?
So, but to get as far
when
as
someone believes something and they're wrong, why is it that they're wrong?
Because it's either true or not true.
Right. So how do we tell if something is true or not true? Do you think that we should have a reason to think something is true before we believe it?
Right, yes.
Okay, well, that's what I'm talking about when I say rational justification. I'm saying we should have reasons to believe the things that we should have reasons to think that the things we believe are true, right? Because in my opinion, belief is a mental attitude or belief is a mental state directed toward a proposition, and that attitude toward that proposition is thinking that it's true. That's what I would classify belief as. So if belief is thinking something is true, and we want to be correct about the things that we think are true, then it seems like a good idea to want reasons to justify that. Right. So that's what I'm looking for, rational justification. So what would be a reason to believe that God exists?
Okay. So I heard you talk to the other guy about the Bible, and you mentioned the claims it had.
Right.
There are some archaeological evidence to support.
Is there any archaeological evidence that would support the existence of God, or just archaeological evidence that supports, like, cities existing that are mentioned in the Bible?
So,
because those are very different things. Because if you're saying there's archaeological evidence that supports, like, that Bethlehem was a real city or stuff like that, like, fine, I'm okay with that. But that has nothing to do with whether or not God exists. Hey, Lobes, good to have you here, as always.
So I would argue one example.
Okay. And this is going to be about, it actually shows reason to believe in God, not just some of the mundane claims, right?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Hit me with it.
So when Moses parted the sea, right?
Yeah, this is just Ron Wyatt. We can head this off right now. This is just a Ron Wyatt lie. This guy has lied about a whole bunch of stuff. He pretended to find the Ark in Turkey. He pretended to find ruts of like wagon wheels or whatever on the bottom of the Red Sea. The problem, Repent, and it's kind of embarrassing that you don't know this, but the problem with Ron Wyatt's claim of having found stuff at the Red Sea is that the sea that's on the map today called the Red Sea is not the sea that the Bible is referring to. The sea that the Bible is referring to is the Sea of Reeds, the Reed Sea, not the Red Sea. So this is just a misunderstanding. And the fact that like somebody went out there and claimed that they found stuff in what we now call the Red Sea and tried to tie it back to the Bible just shows you how little people who pretend to have evidence for things from the Bible actually know.
Well, okay, so but what is your sources for that information as far as the old, as far as the seas being called something different?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the name of the sea in the Bible was Yam Suf, and that means the Sea of Reeds. Now, it was translated to Red Sea in Greek, but again, the body of water, like, we don't actually know what sea they were talking about when they referred to it as the Sea of Reeds. We don't have any reason to think that it's the same body of water that we now call the Red Sea.
Okay, but if they found evidence of stuff at the bottom of it...
But they didn't. I'm telling you that this is a lie. Like, that thing didn't even happen, and even if it did, it wouldn't be evidence for anything in the Bible. That's what I'm telling you.
They actually have video of it, though.
No, I know that you fell victim to a Ron Wyatt scam, but I'm telling you...
No, but what I'm saying is how the video come about.
Yeah, it's just a scam. I mean, it's like any scam video. Like, there are videos out there purporting to show all kinds of things that aren't true. So again, like this, and regardless, Repent, again, all this would do is show that that there were wagons that, at most, at the best that this could get you is that there are wagon tracks, under some water. But there are lots of reasons why there could be wagon tracks underwater that would have nothing to do with God. So this in and of itself does not give us any reason to believe in God. So I would need something that actually points to the existence of God, not just like, there's a difference between something being consistent with a hypothesis versus being evidence for the hypothesis. This would be consistent with your hypothesis, but it doesn't actually provide evidence.
Okay. So, I mean, as far as it's kind of funny. Like, how do you look for evidence of air before you had the tools to look for evidence of air, right? In other words, like you're trying to prove.
Well, if you're saying that we don't have evidence for God, then I'll just agree with you and say that we should both not believe in God then.
Well, I mean, I would disagree.
Well, we talked earlier about how important it is to have reasons for the things that we believe. If you agree that we should have reasons for the things that we believe, and you're saying that you don't have a reason to believe in God, then it sounds like you shouldn't believe in God.
I think me and you would disagree on what evidence would be considered evidence.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just going to define evidence as anything that raises the probability of a proposition being true or a hypothesis being true.
I would look at the Bible as being evidence.
Yeah, I guess I don't agree because as far as I can tell, the Bible is just the claims. So what I would be looking for is the evidence that would lead us to believe what the Bible says.
Well, like I said, from my point of view, I would see the archaeological finds as evidence that these things actually took place.
Right, but again, you're believing the archaeological evidence you're pointing to is just scams, things that have been debunked. Like the guy Ron Wyatt that comes up with this stuff and puts these lies out there has been shown time and time again that he's a liar.
But there's a lot more people out there than Ron Wyatt that have
Well, if you want to discuss a claim from someone other than Ron Wyatt, I'm happy to hear it, but I don't think you'll come up with one.
Are you familiar with Our Lady of Las Lojas in
no.
Colombia?
Our Lady of Las Lajas?
I'm not. I mean, that's the best. That's the best I can try and pronunciate. I don't know. I'm not Colombian, but that's the best I can do as far as enunciation.
Okay. Are you Catholic?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, I think that the problem that you have here is, well, if you're Catholic, I assume that you believe in divine simplicity, that God doesn't have parts.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that at all. Divine simplicity.
Okay. Do you think that there are parts of God, or is God just one whole thing?
I mean, I don't understand the question. I believe he's like 3 in 1, like a triune.
Right, but the church said that it's heresy to say that the Trinity means that there are 3 parts of God. That's called partialism, and that's a heresy. Yeah. Just like it's a heresy to say that that the Trinity are just different modes of God, like gas, water, and ice. Gas, liquid, water, and ice are different modes of water. It's a heresy to say that the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost are different modes of God. So, according to the church, both partialism, saying God has that the Trinity is parts of God, and modalism are heresies. And also, the position of the church is that God does not have parts. Period. He is not made of other parts. There's just God. So would you agree with the church that God is not made of parts, or do you think that God has parts?
I believe that he's one God, 3 persons is the way.
Yeah, but that wasn't my question. Repent. Do you believe God has parts?
I don't. Okay, so in the sense of Jesus, right? We describe him.
I'm just asking for a yes or no answer here, or maybe an I don't know, I guess. But do you believe God has parts?
I mean, we don't use that kind of language. I don't know exactly.
Well, that is the language that the Catholic Church uses. Typically the language the Catholic Church uses is divine simplicity. But what divine simplicity means is God does not have parts. So I'm just asking if you agree with the Catholic Church's...
He doesn't have, like, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. They're not... they're different persons.
Right, I'm not talking about the Trinity right now. I'm just saying in general. Like, does God have parts? Like, is there part of God that is his goodness, and another part of God that's his knowledge, and another part of God that's his power, or is it all just God?
It's just all God.
Okay, so divine simplicity. Okay. Well, that is the Catholic doctrine, and what I'm going to say is that if Catholicism is true, then that position, divine simplicity, must be true. But if divine simplicity is true, then that means that God's actions are identical to his intentions, because if God doesn't have parts, then anything that seems like a part of God is identical to everything else that seems like a part of God. So again, his actions would be identical to his intentions. So if God takes intentional actions, then God's action is grounded in his intention, right? Because his intention is prior, the actions, if they're intentional, come from his intention, right? Mm-hmm. But if his action if his actions are grounded in his intention, but his actions and his intention are identical, then they're really the same thing. But the problem is that a thing cannot ground itself. It's not possible for something to be the explanation for itself, which means that God cannot take intentional action. He doesn't have the capacity to do that. And if God can't take intentional action, then he can't cause miracles. So this miracle that you're talking about, Our Lady of Las Lajas, if you are Catholic and you believe in divine simplicity, like the Catholic Church says you're supposed to, then you can't also believe, it would be a contradiction to believe that God was responsible for that miracle, because that would mean that something grounds itself, but it can't ground itself.
I agree with that.
I'm sorry?
I said I don't agree with your...
which part of it do you disagree with?
Approach. Why could God not be able to cause something? Because
he can't take intentional actions, because intentional action, the action is grounded in the intent. right? Like if I go, cook myself a steak, the action of cooking myself the steak is grounded in my intention to go cook myself a steak. That's like the cause and the reason for the action existing is the intention, right? That's what grounds the action. But the thing is, a thing cannot ground itself, right? And so if a thing can't ground itself, then God can't take intentional actions because the action would have to be grounded in the intent, but because of divine simplicity, the action and the intent would be identical. Therefore, God can't do that. That's a thing that God is not capable of doing without a contradiction. So because God can't take intentional action, he can't cause miracles. So if a miracle happened, it would actually be evidence against the Catholic God.
There's a problem, though.
Okay.
God's not a thing. He's God.
I didn't say God. Well, yeah, that is a thing. A thing is just something that exists.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, even something that doesn't exist could be called a thing. So, yeah, God is a thing.
I think the Catholic view is God is outside of existence.
I understand that. Well, no, you don't want to say God is outside of existence. You want to say God is existence. That's the typical Catholic position.
Yeah.
Maybe God is separate from our experience of existence, but even then, if God is outside of our, what we can perceive in existence, then that also means that he can't interact with existence, which also means he can't cause miracles, which means that if a miracle happens, it's evidence against Catholicism.
So if you're outside of an aquarium, you can't interact with the aquarium?
Yeah, you would have to go inside the aquarium to interact with the fish. That's correct. So if you're saying God is outside of our aquarium, and that means that he isn't inside the aquarium, which means that he can't interact with the fish, which means us. He can't interact with statues. He can't interact with anything else that, is in the reality we experience. So again, if that's the case, if you're saying God is outside of our plane of existence, then that means that he can't cause miracles. So if a miracle happens, that's evidence against your God.
I would disagree about.
I know you're disagreeing, but I need to know what the actual problem is.
Well, I'm gonna explain to you. So if I'm outside of an aquarium, I can drop things from the outside inside.
Right, so that thing goes inside. So, but what you're saying then isn't that God actually causes anything in our reality. That God,
No, he can because so if I'm outside the aquarium and I drop things inside the aquarium that affect the things that are inside.
Right. So those things, it wouldn't be you inside the aquarium, and it wouldn't be you interacting with the things in the aquarium. It would be whatever you dropped. In order for that to apply to God, you would have to say that God is like sending a part of himself, but we already discussed that your view is that God doesn't have parts, so that's not a thing God can do.
So feeding fish isn't interacting with fish?
Right. You're not interacting with them. You're not inside the aquarium. If you drop food in the aquarium, they can interact with the food, but they're not interacting with you.
But it would be a cause, though, right? You would.
Right. Right. So what is it? What is the thing? So what is the thing that God is sending into reality to cause miracles?
Well, the Catholic view would be grace.
What's grace?
So grace is a gift that God gives us.
Okay, so God is able to do things at specific times. Is that what you're saying? Like he's able to take actions that impact certain times?
Yes, he can do that.
Okay.
Yes.
Is grace like a manifestation of his will or something like that?
It can be.
It sounds like what you're saying is that God is taking actions at specific times. But if God is taking actions at specific times, then that means that God is inside time. And if God is inside time, then he couldn't have created time. If he didn't create time, he didn't create the universe. If he didn't create the universe, he doesn't exist.
Why does he have to be in? Why do you have to be a part of time to interact with time?
Because you can't. So, this is. What is the best way to explain this? So, this is again like being outside of the aquarium. You can't actually interact with the stuff in the aquarium. And if God is outside time, then he can't impact time in a temporal way. If he was going to impact like the universe, he would have to be impacting the whole thing at once. because he can't take actions at specific moments. If his like sustaining power for his grace or his will or something enters time, and God doesn't have parts, then that means that all of God is entering time. And if God is inside time, then, well, first off, God can't go, like, it's not possible for a thing to go from outside time to inside time, because that would require a change. If you're outside time, you can't change.
But why is it not possible?
Well, I just explained that. If God is outside of time, then he cannot change. So he can't go from not being in the process of entering the universe to being in the process of entering the universe. It also means that he can't go from not creating. Well, because he's outside of time. He can't change. All change happens inside time.
Why can't he be both?
Well, okay, because that's a contradiction. Either God experiences. That's a contradiction. Either God experiences the passage of moments, or God does not experience the passage of moments.
Why is it a contradiction?
I just said it. I just explained that. If you didn't hear it because you were talking over me, I guess that's your fault.
He could be both.
I just explained that's a contradiction. Do you have anything else, Repent? Otherwise, I'm just going to move on.
I don't see how it's a contradiction, though.
Yep, I just explained that, but you were talking over me, so I guess you didn't hear it.
Okay. Well, I guess we agree to disagree.
No, I'm not agreeing to disagree. I'm agreeing that you're wrong and that you don't have any, like you said earlier, you don't have any reasons for your belief. That's what I would agree to. But I appreciate the conversation, and I hope you have a good one. I can't repeat it because I don't know. Yeah, I know what I said to him. I told him that being both outside time and inside time is a contradiction, because that would require that God experiences the passage of moments and God does not experience the passage of moments. That's what I said that he talked over. Okay, so if you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining the guest queue, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that will provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi, Random, how old are you?
I'm 18.
Okay, do you believe in a God?
Yeah. I mean, I guess the point I'm getting to isn't relevant to if I believe in a God, but I can talk about how it would be rational for someone else to believe in a God.
Okay, that's not a conversation I have any interest in whatsoever. So you don't believe in a God? Fair enough. Several degrees. Okay. Yeah, so currently don't have anybody requesting. Yeah. If you are 18 plus and think you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God, feel free to come up. I'd be happy to chat. Doesn't seem like we have anybody that actually has any reason to believe in God. The theists are defeated. Yeah, I think that so many things about Catholicism are self-defeating. Okay. Oh, weird. Yeah, don't currently have anybody requesting. I don't know if anybody... Oh, maybe we do. So yeah, if you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you are 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi, Kiro. How old are you?
47.
Okay. Do you believe in a God?
Yes.
Cool. Which God do you believe in?
I'm Christian.
Okay. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
Actually, I've been here in the show, like your show a few days ago. Just a couple things, for as a human, you have your brain, why God, for me, I believe is God make human with brain to.
Why should I believe that God exists and has the capacity to make our brains?
if we go back, like the old thing, like where did God start, usually start from, um, like from Jew, Egyptian, all these places, and
I have no idea what you're talking about right now, Kiro.
like where's the Christianity start,
I don't care
I'm
where
talking from my
Christianity
side as
started.
a Christian.
I don't care where Christianity started. I'm asking what would be a reason to believe that God exists.
If you, like if you want to search the truth, you gotta go back, you know, like the old time, where to start. That way you can find
Do you have a reason to believe in God,
the.
Kiro?
Sure, I have a lot of
Oh,
reason.
fantastic. What do you think is the best reason to believe that God exists?
For me, as myself, I have some miracle in my family, and it's been through miracle. One of them for my
How do you
old
know that it
neighbors,
was a miracle?
Okay.
How do you know that it
One
was
of them, they
God?
have bets.
Hey, yeehaw. How do you know it was something that God caused and not just something that was unlikely to happen?
It was a bad tumor, like somebody have bad tumors.
Yeah, no, I understand.
This.
And I also know that people just, like, cancer goes into remission spontaneously. Things like that happen. So what I'm asking is, how did you confirm that God was involved, that it was actually a miracle, divine intervention, and that it wasn't just,
Of course,
non-miraculous, remission?
by X-ray, doctors,
No, that doesn't.
somebody was going through
Right, that could just
the
be a
dancer or
non-miraculous remission. So how that happens all the time. How did you confirm that it was in fact miraculous?
mm, first he was going to death road, like the doctor say,
No, I
you're
don't need to
ready
hear what the
few
doctor
days.
said. Did the doctor tell you that this was definitely 100% God? Because I don't
They
think that
say
a
it's a
doctor would
miracle.
say that. Well,
Doctors
they
say
may
it's a
have
miracle.
said, like, hyperbolically that it was miraculous because it's unlikely and unexpected. But how did you confirm that God was actually involved? That's my question.
Did I don't see anybody cured from cancer.
Yeah,
They
it
have it
happens all the
all their
time.
body.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Yeah, start from brain. It
Yeah,
take them several,
it happens all the
like
time,
couple of
Kiro.
years to.
Kiro, it happens all the time. Unfortunately, I've had multiple, I shouldn't say many, multiple members of my family deal with cancer, some of whom it went into spontaneous remission. I have somebody I used to be really, really good friends with, unfortunately kind of fell out of touch, but he didn't get his cancer diagnosed until it was already stage 4. They told him that he was probably going to die and within months, but he came through, and here we are, like almost 10 years later, and he's still alive and he's still kicking. He's still out there doing stuff and being an awesome person. So, like, this kind of thing happens, right? People their cancer goes into remission, sometimes spontaneously. This is just a thing that happens. So what I need from you isn't to say this unlikely thing happened. I will agree with you that unlikely things happen. What I need from you is the reason to think that a God was involved in that unlikely thing happening.
For me, because we don't see any treatment. I hear some stories like that, and some people, like.
Right, but we just discussed this, Kiro.
Yes, if you don't use, definitely the person you say use some treatment to try. I have that.
Even without treatment, sometimes cancer spontaneously goes into remission. This is just a thing that happens. It's not very common, but it does happen. So again, what you need to demonstrate isn't that an unlikely thing happened. I grant you that an unlikely thing happened. What you need to demonstrate is that God was involved.
They have different story with other people.
Yep,
like
I don't need to hear the stories,
DC,
Kiro. Do you understand what I'm asking you for right now?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, what am I asking you for?
They asked me if God exists and you need proof for the.
What am I asking you for right now in the conversation? What is the thing that I'm looking for right now in our conversation?
For a proof of God exists.
No. It just sounds like you're not listening to me at all, Kiro, and it's really frustrating, and it makes it very difficult to try to have a conversation with you. What I'm asking you is for some reason to believe that God was involved in the things you're calling miracles.
with the X, like X-ray and all the stuff with doctor
Did God show up on the
saying this,
X-ray?
but the prayer
Was
exists.
God on the
Like when the family,
was God in the X-ray?
prayer, it wasn't an X-ray.
You said
This
that there were
it's not.
X-rays. Then X-rays are the evidence that God was involved. So that must mean God was in the X-ray, right?
Yes, but look, most
So
of the
God was
Christian,
in the X-ray, Kiro?
he's not. Of
Okay,
course,
so
he's
then
not
the
gonna be on
X-ray
the
isn't
X-ray,
evidence, right?
right? But it's a
Okay,
big
so when we don't
evidence.
need to talk about the X-ray anymore because we both agree that's not evidence. Then the next
Okay.
thing that you said was prayer. So are you saying that when someone prays for someone to be healed and they get healed, that's evidence for God?
With not always all the disease or all, like,
Okay, I'm going to ask you this one more
I'm
time, Kiro. It
I'm
sounds like you're
I'm
just not capable of answering the question that
I'm
you're asked.
no,
So I'm going
I'm
to
not
ask you
gonna
this
have.
question one more time, and if you're not able to answer the actual question that I'm asking you, I'm just going to move on to the next person. So my question for you is, what is the reason to believe that God was actually in, or excuse me, I'm sorry, we were talking about prayer. What I'm asking is whether you consider it evidence that if someone prays for a person to be healed and that person is healed, is that evidence for God?
Not with that case I'm talking with you. Not with this one.
Okay, so
But they
that's
have
not,
another.
so when prayers are answered, that's not evidence for God.
By the showing,
Okay,
like,
Kiro. Again, you're just not capable of directly engaging with what I'm saying, so I'm going to move on to the next person. I appreciate you doing your best. Questions. Okay. All right. Damn. Thanks everybody for the support. FTC, JD, Poopman Jones, Bear, Bradley Cooper. What is this? Ghost of O'Hara. I don't know what that is, but I'll assume it's something cool. Sober. Awesome to see you. Three Pips. Likewise. What is this one? The Money Artist. Okay, cool. Thank you. Lem, thank you. Lobes the Absurdist. As always, thank you so much. Lupine, Sean, Casey. Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. It does make a huge difference. And hey, Banane Mom. Good to see you as well. I feel genuinely so lucky to get the support that I get from you guys. Thank you so much. Whether it's sending gifts or just being being here watching, being in the yeah, of course, Sober. Yeah, I was glad to be able to be there for a little bit. Couldn't stay for a super long time, but I was glad to be able to be there when I could. But yeah, sincerely, thank you, everybody. Thank you for the tapping the screen. That helps a lot. Sharing, I sincerely appreciate it. So I don't want to be a broken record and say it over and over and over again, but I do want you guys to know that it is sincerely appreciated. But speaking of trying not to be a broken record, but stuff that I want to say anyway, remember that I do have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/@OgarDebates. Would love to have you guys over there, subscribing, that kind of stuff. It helps also, and I want to be able to do more things over there, and having more subscribers helps a lot. So I'd appreciate anybody who's willing to go do that. And then I also did start a Discord, still fairly small, but I think there's a lot of opportunities there for good conversation, building a community, that kind of thing. So if you are on Discord and want to join, the link, easiest way to get there is tinyurl.com/OgarDebates. And then the other thing about the Discord, if you join as a super fan here on TikTok, you will get access to the members only area and my debate notes and stuff, my arguments and all that kind of fun stuff. And then also in those member areas, I'm a lot of times talking about new arguments and things like that. So it's good opportunities. But yeah, we'll go ahead and move on to the next person. If you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you are 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence for God. Hello, Day. How old are you?
Hello, I am 37.
Okay. Do you believe in a God?
I do.
Okay.
I'm trying to listen to what you're. Well, first, I gotta say I like your shirt. I love that Mega Man shirt.
Yeah, Mega Man rules. Which God do you believe in, Day?
So, Christian.
Okay.
But I was trying to get, because what you had me thinking too about the reason. Well, okay, there's no rational justification for deism. What I was thinking about was the reason is because we can't prove he doesn't exist.
Well, that's not a reason to believe in something. Like if I told you that we can't prove with 100% certainty that unicorns don't exist, does that mean that we have reason to believe in unicorns?
No,
Okay, so it sounds like we both agree that just not being able to disprove something doesn't give us reason to believe in it. So what I am looking for are reasons to believe in God. Do you know of a reason to believe in God?
That's the reason. So like,
no, that's not a reason. So you just agreed with me, Day, that not having disproof of something isn't a reason to believe in it. We both agree to that. So that has to also apply to God the same way it applies to unicorns.
It could.
It does. Again, unless you can tell me why it would be different.
Like I said, the whole afterlife factor.
Well, that has nothing to do with whether or not there's reason to believe in something. The afterlife may be something that you believe in, in connection to your belief in God, but that doesn't, like, saying, like, because I believe in God, I believe in an afterlife, and if an afterlife exists, God exists, well, that would just be a circular argument. So I'm looking for some reason to believe in God if I'm starting from a place of not currently believing in God.
No, not really looking for, I'm not saying that, God doesn't exist because, of not believing in the afterlife. It's kind of like this. I'm trying to explain it to you because I'm not getting my point across correctly here. So, like, example, we can't say that if we die, right, that there's somewhere that we go. We can't prove that there isn't an afterlife. You know what I mean? Let me put it in
okay.
Sense.
Day, I need you to stop talking about the things that we can't prove, because that's irrelevant here. So all I care about is the things that we have reason to believe, namely the, reasons we have to believe in God. That's all I'm interested in. So please, we don't need to talk anymore about things we can't prove. That's irrelevant. It has nothing to do with the conversation.
To me, it is. But if that's not what we're looking for, I won't go down that topic. But
do you think that not being able to prove that unicorns don't exist is a reason to believe that unicorns do exist?
It's not about the unicorns. It's really
Day,
about,
I need you to answer the question. What is the answer to the question?
Repeat the question.
Do you think that not having proof that unicorns definitely don't exist is a good reason to believe that unicorns do exist?
No.
Okay. So we agree that not having proof that something doesn't exist is not a good reason to believe in that thing, right?
Right.
Okay. So not having a reason, or not having definitive proof that God doesn't exist, is not a reason to believe in God, right?
Right.
Okay, fantastic. So, and then not having 100% proof that the afterlife doesn't exist is not a good reason to believe in the afterlife, right?
Well, let me back up. So, like,
no, I need you to answer the question, Day. Answer the question.
I'm not trying to
answer the question. Answer the question.
Repeat the question again.
Do you agree that not having definitive proof that the afterlife doesn't exist is not a good reason to believe in the afterlife?
Oh, no. Because that's my whole argument.
Okay, so you just said that not having definitive proof something doesn't exist isn't a good reason to believe in unicorns. It's not a good reason to believe in anything at all. It's not a good reason to believe in God, but it is a good reason to believe in an afterlife?
No.
Okay, so let me write this down, because it seems like you're not tracking. Like you're disagreeing with yourself at this point, not just me. So let me put my notepad up here.
No,
we're saying that
it's a big
not having proof that X doesn't exist is not a good reason to believe in X. Do you agree with this?
No, let me see. It's more of
no answer. I just need you to engage with this directly. Please stop talking about other stuff.
There's a period.
I know. I'm asking if you agree with this, and if you disagree with this, then I need you to engage just with this.
No, like I know what I'm asking. That's what I'm saying. Like,
well, you keep contradicting yourself, though, Day. I need you to lock in. Pay attention to the conversation that we're actually having right now, please. So
not having proof that X doesn't exist is not a good reason to believe in X. Again, but it's
do you agree or disagree?
Not having proof that X doesn't exist is not a good reason to believe in X. Neither. Because it's a statement.
Either you agree with the statement or you disagree with the statement. Which is it?
Neither.
Okay. Well, at that point, we're just rejecting logic and not even able to have a conversation, so I'll go ahead and move on. All right. If you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining the guest queue, please make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi, FTC, how old are you?
Hey, I'm 18.
Okay, and what God do you believe in?
Christian.
Okay, and what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
Do you mind if I ask you real quick if you ever had any faith?
It's irrelevant. What would you say is a good argument or evidence that would give us reason to believe in God?
I think the best thing you're gonna hear today is that it's really hard, if not impossible, to prove that there's
okay, so this isn't an argument or evidence. I don't want to hear this preamble. I don't want to hear excuses or crying or meta. Just please give me the argument or evidence.
Okay, the only argument I can give you, I have two arguments. My question would be, what is the harm in having a faith?
No questions. Then, we're just doing the arguments and the evidence. This isn't 20 questions. It's not an FAQ. It's not an ask me anything. This is just a debate about the reasons that you think we have to believe in God. So give me your top reason to believe in God.
Okay, I believe that the universe is so precisely tuned that it's hard to believe that it just happened by coincidence. That there has to be someone or something that made everything specifically how it is.
Okay, I think I can easily show you that it's not possible for fine-tuning to be evidence. Now, you said that you're Christian. Because there are so many different Christian denominations, I just want to make sure that I understand your position correctly. Do you agree that God is all good, all-knowing, and all-powerful?
The all-knowing and all-powerful, yes, I believe in that. The all-good, I'm not sure in that one, I can't lie.
All right, fair enough. So he's at least all-knowing and all-powerful. All right, so I will give you an argument here. Basically, it's just that if the God that you believe in exists, then that God would have the capacity to create life with any possible set of physical constants. If God can do that, then that God, believing in that God, theism, that type of theism, wouldn't predict fine-tuning. It would not make any predictions about fine-tuning. If your theistic hypothesis doesn't make predictions about fine-tuning, then fine-tuning isn't evidence for your theistic hypothesis. Therefore, if God exists, if the God you believe in exists, fine-tuning cannot be evidence for your God.
Okay, that was a mouthful. I can't lie. It was a little hard.
Let me put it up on the screen.
Okay.
We'll go ahead and put this up here. So, premise 1, if God exists, then God can create life with any possible set of physical constants because he's all-powerful. If God can create life with any possible set of physical constants, then theism does not make predictions about fine-tuning, right? Because if you're saying that, like, oh, well, we know God would want life, well, that doesn't tell you what kind of universe he would create because he could make life in any kind of universe. So obviously theism doesn't make predictions about fine-tuning then. And if it's the case that theism doesn't make predictions about fine-tuning, then finding fine-tuning in the universe can't be evidence for theism. So the rational conclusion here is that if God exists, then the apparent fine-tuning of the universe is not evidence for God.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to hear your opinion on why I have the faith that I have. So I'll have to look into that.
Well, do you want to hear why I think that fine-tuning is actually evidence against God?
Okay.
Because, as we already discussed, theism predicts that God can create life with any possible set of physical constants. We discussed that because, as you believe, God is all-powerful. So if God's all-powerful, he can create life with any possible set of physical constants. That's what's predicted by your theistic hypothesis. If God can create life with any possible set of physical constants, then there's more possible universes where life exists without fine-tuning than possible universes where life exists with fine-tuning, right? So, like, the number of non-fine-tuned universes that could have life is much higher than the number of fine-tuned universes that could have life. Does that make sense?
How can we know that for sure, though?
Well, we can't know that for sure. We can only know that that's true if your God exists.
Okay.
So as long as your God exists, who can make any logically possible state of affairs reality, then he could make life exist in a non-fine-tuned universe. And since there are more non-fine-tuned ways the universe could be than fine-tuned ways the universe could be, especially if God exists, then that means that there is a larger number of possible universes where life exists without fine-tuning than the number of possible universes where life exists with fine-tuning. So then what we would conclude from those two premises is that theism predicts that there are more possible universes where life could exist without fine-tuning than life with fine-tuning. Okay? So from there, what we would say is that if that... Oh, I just fucked it up. Okay, if that is correct, that theism predicts more possible universes without fine-tuning, with life without fine-tuning, than possible universes of life with fine-tuning, then what that means is that observing life with fine-tuning is unexpected under theism. Right? Because it's since it's unexpected, it's evidence against theism. So what we conclude is that observing life existing with fine-tuning, with the appearance of fine-tuning, is evidence against God. Because if God existed, it would be much more likely that we would find life without fine-tuning than life with fine-tuning. So if we find life with fine-tuning, which is what you're saying, the way the universe is, well, that's unexpected if God exists, and therefore it's evidence against God existing.
Okay. All right, yeah, I kind of understand what you're saying. Yeah, honestly, I'd have to look more into that because I haven't really heard anything about. I haven't really investigated too much into it. I just wanted to see what you have to say about it.
Okay. Do you have anything else?
No, that's about it, I guess.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate the conversation. If you look into this, and in a few weeks or a couple months or something, you have either the fine-tuning argument or a different one that you want to discuss, feel free to come back.
Okay. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. See, it's possible to have good conversation. All right. So if you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining the guest queue, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Okay. Please stop begging in the chat to be let up. Hi, Aaron, how old are you?
Oh, I wasn't begging, man. I was just letting you know. I am 30.
Yeah, I was mostly talking to Ayla.
Oh, okay, my bad.
And
I'm 32.
Do you believe in a God?
I do.
Okay, and which God do you believe in?
His name is Jesus.
Okay, and what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God? And if you're off the app, I can't hear you. Okay.
I have two statements, if you're ready.
Are they arguments? Are they evidence?
So I just have two statements. I thought that's what you were looking for.
I don't want just statements. I'm looking for arguments or evidence. I'm looking for arguments or evidence that would give us reason to believe in God. That's what I'm asking for.
All right, well, maybe this is not...
You keep leaving the app. I can't hear you when you're off the
app. Yeah, it's harder to prove that there's no God than it is to prove that there is one.
Okay, that's irrelevant. So do you have anything that's actually relevant to the topic here?
No.
All right. Have a good one. Oh, that didn't last long. Okay. All right. So if you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining, please make sure that you're 18 plus, that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God, and that you're not begging in the chat to be let in, because that will mean that I don't bring you up. Hi, Wizard. How old are you?
I'm actually 37.
Okay. Do you believe in a God?
Depends on what you mean by God. I don't want to get into the logistics of all of that. I'm actually more of a Gnostic leaning, ideological type of Christian, I guess you can say. However,
by God, I mean a personal ultimate foundation to reality.
A personal ultimate foundation to reality? What does that mean?
So personal would mean something that has like a mind, intention, desires, those kinds of things, plans, will, that type of stuff. Ultimate foundation just means the thing that explains everything else that exists in a given domain of discourse. And I said foundation, ultimate foundation of reality, because the domain of discourse is reality. So I'm saying a thing with a mind that is the explanation for why everything else exists in reality.
I don't think that there is one particular being that's going to explain everything in reality. I think that there are beings outside of humanity, bipedal hominids, outside of the
So then you just don't believe
exist.
in a God? So then you don't believe in a God, and it would just be a semantic dispute, and I'm not really interested in a semantic debate. So I'm going to go ahead and move on, but I appreciate you. Make sure if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining that you do believe in a God, and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in that God. Oh, shit. I didn't write down. Hold on. Pause. Everybody stop what you're doing. Don't move. Yeah, I dropped you because you don't believe in a God, and I'm just trying to talk to people who do believe in a God. Okay. Hey, Jaden. All right, bringing up Mr. Bangs here. Hi, Mr. Bangs. How old are you?
30 years.
I'm sorry, did you say 30 years?
30 years. 30.
Okay. Do you believe in a God?
30 years of age. Yeah.
Okay. Which God do you believe in?
The creator of the universe.
Yeah, which one?
Well, in our native language, we call him Pakuru. I don't know, because I'm from West Africa.
Okay. So do you believe in like a mind that created and sustains the universe?
Yeah.
Okay. What would you say is the best?
I believe there is a creator of this universe.
Okay. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would give us reason to believe in that God?
Well, because of the way the universe is being created, the sun, the moon, the stars, I believe that human beings are incapable of positioning the sun where it is. So that means there is a creator for that.
Why would there have to be a creator? Why couldn't it just happen through natural processes?
Yeah, no, it's impossible for that based on the way how.
Why is that impossible?
The universe is organized and
formed. Why is it impossible?
Because something that's happened out of chaos or something just pop up, I don't think it will just be organized like this way,
Yep, that's just restating the claim again.
Days and nights,
Mr. Bangs, that's just restating the claim again. I already know that you think that it's impossible for the universe to come about via just natural processes. So what I'm looking for is the justification for that position.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, it sounds like there might be a delay here, so I'm going to count to 3, and then I want you to say 4. 1, 2, 3.
There's a delay. I don't know. There's network issue.
There's a huge delay. Okay, so I'm so sorry, Mr. Banks. I'm going to have to ask you to come back when you have a better connection. So if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that will provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi, Carpenter. How old are you?
60.
Okay. Do you believe in a God?
I do.
Okay. Which God do you believe in?
I believe in a creator.
Okay. I'm just asking which God you believe in. It's not that complicated. If you can't tell me, then you're not worth talking to.
Well, that's fair. I mean, when you say which God do I believe in, does it have to be specific to Muslim or Christian or Jewish or anything like that?
No, it just has to be the God that you believe in.
Okay, I'm Christian by faith.
Okay. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
Well, I will say I've been watching your show, and I have been thinking many nights about this question. And you know, it's a tough question to answer without any means. I would have to say that I don't think anyone can answer that question or bring a good fight against your show here. I really don't. I think that the only answer that someone could give is, and this is the answer that's come around thousands of times by many people. The world is just too perfect. The world is just too perfect not to believe in a creator or a God, Christian God, Muslim God. Just too perfect.
What do you think about the world is perfect?
Well, okay, so let's start with everything as far as our resources go. Earth as a planet, the resources that we're given in this planet, wood, sand to make cement, concrete.
No, Carpenter, you're looking at this backwards. We as what's the word I'm looking for? We as creatures who have like creativity and ingenuity have utilized the things around us and turned them into resources that we can do things with and that we can make other things out of, that we can derive or extract energy from, to do other things that we want to do. That doesn't mean that those things, what you're doing here is you're putting the cart before the horse. You're saying because we use wood for a purpose, then that means wood must have been put there for that purpose. But I would reject that. You would have to demonstrate that that's the case.
No, I see what you're saying. You're saying that you can't say that there's a God because these resources are here. I understand what you mean that way. But just look at all of the resources that this planet offers to us.
Again, you're only calling them resources because they're things that we have found ways to use to our benefit, right? That doesn't mean that they exist as resources. I don't think that trees exist as resources for us to, burn and make tables and chairs out of. I think that trees exist as trees because they evolved to be trees due to natural processes, and because we are creatures that the way that we live, the way that we flourish is by being employing ingenuity, by being creative, by coming up with solutions to problems. We have found ways to utilize the things around us, but that doesn't mean that those things are resources. We just turn them into resources.
I don't believe in that. I think the amount of resources that are on this planet.
Okay, then you need to demonstrate that they were created to be resources, which sounds like you're going to have to demonstrate that God exists before this argument that you're making can get off the ground.
Well, the only way I can explain to you that God exists is the earth in itself. It's too perfect. Like
again, that was your claim before. Yeah. You're just repeating yourself now, Carpenter.
But please don't do that. There's no answer that anyone can give you. There's no answer
right,
that
so
anyone can give you.
Saying that there's no answer anyone can give me is saying that there is no reason to believe in God. And I agree with you. There is no reason to believe in God.
There's a mechanism inside of everyone that we're born. We know that there's a God. It's in you as well.
Nope. That's wrong. That's incorrect. So if that would have to be true, and if God existed, then we definitely know God doesn't exist, because that's not true. I guarantee there are dozens of people in the chat right now who would say that they don't have this like innate knowledge you're talking about.
Okay, for instance, let's just talk real quick. If you can give me 5 minutes. So let's look at what God gave us. Or
Stephen made a great point. You know what? I'm going to go with the point that Stephen made here. So you're saying that because the Earth is perfect and made perfectly, or whatever, that it is perfect, then that means that it must. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't say exactly perfect, of course, but I'm saying pretty perfect. Yeah.
Okay, so it's close enough to perfection, or a high enough level of perfection, even though that's a meaningless concept, that it must have been created, right? That's what you're saying?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Is God perfect?
I would say yes, God's perfect.
Fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and throw the argument up on the screen, and we're going to say, if something has a high enough level of perfection, then it was created by a God. God has the highest possible level of perfection. Conclusion, God was created by a God. If God exists, then God was not created. Conclusion 2, God does not exist. So based on your reasoning here, the rational conclusion we should come to is that God does not exist.
Yeah, I don't understand the rationale on that statement.
Do you agree that if something has a high enough level of perfection, then it was created by a God?
I don't know, but we're getting off
this is your argument. This is not getting off topic. Me engaging directly with your argument is not getting off topic. So your claim was that if something has a high enough level of perfection, then it must have been created by a God. Do you still agree with that?
Well, can I go backwards and finish the statement?
I need a yes or no question. I need a yes or no answer to this question.
No, I understand that.
Okay, so what is the answer to this question?
Okay, repeat that question again.
Do you agree that if something has a high enough level of perfection, then it must have been created by a God?
I disagree.
Oh, well, that was your whole argument. So I guess we're going to get rid of the entire argument that you've given so far, and we're starting fresh. Where do you want to go now?
I'd like to go back 5 minutes ago and let me finish what I was saying, if that's possible.
No. The argument that you were just giving, you agreed, failed, and you don't agree with it anymore, so now we need a different argument. You changed your mind in the last 5 minutes.
If I could go back and just finish my statement, that would be great.
No.
If I could finish my statement.
No. We already went through it, and you have now disavowed the statement, so it's not worth continuing to talk about. Is there something, or do you want to, if you want to continue on with the point that you were making, then I need you to deal with the argument that I just made. So it's your call.
I respect your show and what you're doing. I respect what you're doing. It's making Christians or anyone that believes in God.
Okay, I don't need glazing and I don't need meta. So do you want to continue with the argument about, perfection meaning that there's a God, or do you want to move on to something else?
But that's not what I had started with.
It is what you started with. You said that the reason that we should believe in a God is because things are just too perfect to be explained without a God. So that was saying that if something has a sufficient level of perfection, then it must have been created, which is where the rest of this argument follows from. So that is your claim. If you want to stick with that claim, if you want to say anything else about that claim, I need you to engage with this argument. If you don't want to engage with this argument, then we need to move on to something else.
Okay, then I agree that anything that was created by God is perfect, yes.
No, that's not the question here, Guy.
Repeat the question.
Do you agree with premise 1?
Premise 1. Let me read premise 1 here. If something has a high enough level of perfection that it was created by God. I do agree.
Okay, God fantastic. So, okay, and then, do you agree with premise 2? God has the highest possible level, or, you know what, we don't even have to say that. We'll just say God is perfect.
I agree.
Fantastic. So then the conclusion that follows from that is that God was created by a God. Or, maybe a better way to say this is God has a high level of, or you know what? Here's an easier way to do this. If something is at least as perfect as the earth, then it was created by a god, and we'll say God is at least as perfect as the earth. Okay, so now it is more valid. Okay, so you agree that if something is at least as perfect as the earth, then it was created by a god, right?
I agree.
And you agree that God is at least as perfect as the earth, right?
I think he's more perfect than the earth, but I agree. Okay.
Yeah, so at least as perfect as the earth. Fantastic.
Yep.
So then the only conclusion we can draw from that is that God was created by another God. So then if God was the problem though with that is that if God exists, then God was not created. So the only conclusion we can draw is that God does not exist. So you've already agreed with premise 1 and 2. Do you agree that if God exists, he was not created?
Well, go back to C1. God was created by a God.
Yeah, you don't get to... that comes from these two premises that you agreed to, right? So do you know anything about logic?
Well, I do not understand how number 1 and number 2 come up with C1, that God was created by a God. I don't understand why that creator of God would become invaluable in any statement. I don't understand.
Right. So I've written down here what's called modus ponens. This is like one of the most basic inferential rules in logic. It just says if P then Q, P therefore Q. That's the form that this takes here. And
we're going off the track.
No, we're not off the track, Carpenter. I know that this is uncomfortable territory because you're not used to actually having to think about what you believe in or justify what you believe in, but this is not off topic.
Well, why am I not allowed to finish on your show what I was about to say? Why am I not allowed to say that?
Because you need to engage with the argument that's being presented right now. Because if you can't get out of this... So Carpenter, if you can't get out of this argument, then we will conclude that God does not exist, and there's no reason for us to continue talking. So you need to find a way out of this argument. Now, my recommendation to you, I think the easiest way to get out of this argument is to just reject this stupid thing that you said earlier. But if you want to keep holding on to it, then you're going to end up here at God does not exist. Now, what I'm trying to do is you said you don't understand how this first conclusion follows from premises 1 and 2, and I'm trying to explain that. Do you want me to explain that, or do you want to agree that God does not exist?
No, I think I'll pass. I think you're not letting me, have my statement, and I think there's some reason that you're not letting me make my statement, but that's okay.
Because I'm trying to actually stay on topic here.
I think your show's good, and I respect it, and I think you're letting people think hard, and and it's a tough argument. You're putting up a tough fight. I agree, and what I've been hearing from people.
Okay, so all I'm hearing now is just meta. And it sounds like you're about to start crying. So I don't really know that gets us anywhere.
I like that. That's funny. But
well, I mean, it doesn't sound like you have anything other than just like, I mean, I don't know if you're trying to like think that glazing is going to make me let you go off topic or something.
I'm just talking to you like a regular person. That's all.
Okay. Well, I'm talking to you like someone I'm having a debate with and trying to stay on topic for the debate. So that's what I'd like to do. So if you want to continue talking, I need you to engage with the argument that I gave in response to your position. If you don't want to engage with the argument that I gave in response to your position, then you can either concede and we can move on to a different topic, or you can leave.
Okay, can I move on to a different topic?
Okay, so you concede that God does not exist, or at least your claim that if something is at least as perfect as the earth that was created by God, you at least agree that that was wrong?
No, you wouldn't let me finish explaining what I wanted to do.
Okay, well, if you don't agree that that's wrong, and you don't agree that God does not exist, then we're right back in that argument, and you need to respond to it. Or you can leave.
Well, I guess if you won't let me finish what I wanted to say, and I think I can make most of your viewers believe that there's a creator, then...
No, we're not here to hear you preach. We're here to engage in the substance. We're here to engage in the substance, Carpenter. And the only way to engage in the substance is to actually deal with the arguments as presented. Now, I want you to notice what has happened in this conversation. You came in here and you made a claim. I responded directly to that claim with a critique of your position. And now you're refusing to engage with my response to your position. That's what's happening right now. So hopefully everybody in the chat is also noticing that of the two of us, only one of us actually wants to stay on topic and discuss what we're supposed to be talking about.
If that's the way you view it, then that's fine.
That's what's happening. All right. Well, I appreciate you doing your best. Unfortunately, it wasn't good enough. Thanks, God. Big fan. That's actually not true. If there was a God, I would hate him. Agreed, God, agreed. Damn, 19,000 likes. Thanks, guys. That's fucking awesome. Yeah, I appreciate the likes and the shares, the follows. Looks like we've gotten some new followers tonight. And also thank you everybody for the support. I genuinely appreciate it so much. Thank you, Bradley, Bradley Cooper, Bear, Poopman Jones, Kimchi, Grandpa Books, Stephen Mathematics. Also, thank you for pointing that out in the chat, Stephen. I'm glad that I caught that, because you're exactly right that that guy was giving a self-defeating argument. Oh, speaking of which, like, there are a lot of people that I see in my chat, here hanging out, and that I've started noticing run their own lives, and that's genuinely, like, it means so much to me that people who are making their own content also spend their time on what I'm doing. Like, sincerely, I appreciate that. Like, I've seen you, Grandpa Books. Haven't been able to spend a ton of time, watching your lives, but I've seen that it seems like you're doing awesome out there. So I sincerely appreciate that you're here supporting me as well. Thank you for that. Obviously, like Sober, seeing Sober go live and have conversations that I know that I wouldn't be able to have. Yeah, it's just awesome to see. And like I said, I take it as an enormous compliment. I consider it to be flattering that folks who are able to do that are, spending any amount of time, watching what I'm doing. So thank you sincerely. But yeah, if you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18. Oh, well, the only person that was requesting left. Fair enough. I yapped for a while, so my bad. I was thinking, oh, hey, that was fun. I was thinking something that I say a lot, because a lot of my arguments against God end up employing modus tollens, at least as like a section of the argument. Hey, yeehaw! Are we gonna get the fucking rock out? What was I saying? A lot of my arguments end up with modus tollens, and so I've been saying a lot, like, by the power of modus tollens, God doesn't exist. So it was funny to shut that one down with modus ponens instead. Modus ponens is typically not the hero. But it does seem like viewership has dropped. It seems like we're probably not like in the algorithm or anything. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is a reset. We don't have anybody requesting or anything, so I'm going to do a quick reset. Hey, thanks, Atheist Cat. That's fucking awesome. Thank you for all the support, Atheist Cat. You've been sending a bunch of stuff. Thank you so much. And also Kimchi, you and Lupine, and yeah, fucking you guys rule. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a quick reset on TikTok. If you're over on the YouTubes, you don't have to worry, that's not going to go down. But I am going to get the TikTok reset. So I will end the live, and then I will restart in just a moment. So give me like 30 seconds. Okay. Maybe do one of these, and then one of those, and one of these, and one of these. And immediately go back live and pull this back up, and I think we're good to go. Okay. Hopefully we get, I was gonna hopefully get some folks in here and some requests. People actually want to talk. Oh, thanks for tapping the screen right away and throwing some likes up there. I know that helps. I appreciate it. Hey, thanks, Poopman Jones. Starting off on a great foot. Oh, I didn't even think about that. That makes sense. Yeah, 4th of July this weekend. I'll go. This is address on my page. So he can't do it. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just looking for folks to have a debate about the topic above my head. As far as I can tell, there is not any rational justification to believe in theism, to believe in any gods. And I would love to have a debate about it. Maybe somebody can demonstrate that I'm wrong. And that there, in fact, is evidence or justification for believing in God. I'm just looking to talk to people who are adults, who believe in God, and have some kind of argument or evidence. Thanks for tapping the screen, everybody, for the shares and all that. It's much appreciated. Hopefully we get some folks in here and can actually have some debates. Oh, I should do this. There we go. I think the best conversation we had so far tonight is FTC, talking about fine-tuning. Yeah, thanks for the shares, guys. I do appreciate it. Looks like we're already almost at 1,000 likes. Oh, geez, that's jumping quick. So appreciate that as well. Thanks, Mando. You guys are awesome. Yeah, hopefully we'll get some people in here and actually get to have some debates. I ran something that's fun about doing these lives is I get to try stuff out, and then sometimes it doesn't work, and I end up hating it. Like I was running an argument yesterday, and I fucking hate it. And I'm not going to be running it again. So I think that's fun to learn that kind of stuff. Hey, Dangerous Queen. Okay. And we'll do one of these. Okay. All right. Sounds like we have some big talkers in the chat, but nobody requesting yet. So if you think that you have some kind of argument or evidence that should compel people to believe in God, I'd be happy to hear it. Be happy to have the debate. Yeah, being threatened with a Christian hell, that's like telling me that Bigfoot is going to show up at my house and beat me up tonight. Okay, so if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you are 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi, Magala. Are you at least 18?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you believe in a God?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Which God do you believe in?
Well, I believe in all of them, but primarily Krishna. I'm a yogi. I'm a bhakti yogi. I'm a mystic. I'm an esoteric.
Okay. Do you believe in a personal ultimate foundation to reality?
Personal ultimate. What do you mean by that?
Like a mind that is the explanation for why everything else in reality exists?
No, we're the witness of our mind.
Okay. Well, that's what I mean by a God. So it sounds like our only debate here would just be over semantics, and that's not a conversation I'm interested in. But I appreciate you, and I hope you have a good one. Okay. So, again, nobody requesting. Just trying to talk to people who actually believe in a God. And when we talk about God, we're, hey, monkey boy, we're talking about a personal ultimate foundation to reality. Doesn't, so I think that's a pretty basic definition of what I mean when I say a God. I think that's a pretty common for what people mean when they say God, in theology and philosophy. Like bare theism would just be the idea that there is some personal ultimate foundation to reality, and then specific flavors of theism add extra commitments on top of that. So that's what I mean when I say a God. When I say theism, I mean the belief in that type of God. That's right. Yep, the low tier is live. Correct, Kepler. You are 100% correct about that. I am both low tier and live. These are true statements. Oh, art student. Don't say something dumb in defense of me. I'm low tier as fuck. I'll be the first to admit that. Now, the problem for theists is that even the most high-tier theists can't contend with a low-tier atheist. That's the sad thing. But like I said, looking to talk to adults who have a belief in a God and some kind of argument or evidence that would justify their God belief. Hi, Mog. How old are you?
I'm 18. Convert to Catholicism or be killed in the Holy War.
Okay. Well, I'm not really going to entertain, threats on my life. But yeah, looking to talk to folks who are 18 plus, believe in a God, and have some kind of argument or evidence that would justify their theistic belief. Super pumped to talk to Megatron. Hi, Megatron. How old are you?
I'm 48.
Okay. Do you believe in a God?
I sure do.
All right. And which God do you believe in?
Jesus Christ.
Okay. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
So if I'm thinking about any physical things that happened that I could justify to you, is that, listen, people, all they had to do historically, some of those people that followed him was denounce him, and they chose a very horrible death. And those deaths are logged, and there's a lot, if you think about people, man, will do anything to save their life, but they did not do that. Those people were boiled alive.
So what you're saying is that if someone is willing to die for their religious belief, then their religious belief is true?
No.
Okay, well,
You're
hold
just
on.
asking me for
well, I'm just trying to make sure that I understand your argument, Megatron. So your position is that as long as someone is willing to die for their religion, then their religion is true, right?
No, that's not my point.
Okay, then why did you bring that up?
No, I was just making the first statement that came up in my mind.
Yeah, but what did that statement have to do with the conversation that we're supposed to be having about reasons to believe in God? Because it sounded like you were saying that was a reason to believe.
Because it's a lot easier.
Megatron, it sounded like you were saying that was a reason to believe in God, but now you're saying it's not. So why did you bring it up?
Well, I thought it was a good point to bring up, but you have a good counter argument to it. There's no reason to be mean to each other about it. You had a really good counter argument to that statement.
Okay, fair enough. So what else have you got?
Lots of people have near-death experiences and experience Christ-like things that are not Christianity religion.
Sure. So when people have near-death experiences and they experience things from other religions, does that mean those religions are true?
So I've never heard one single story about any other religion.
Yeah, that's because you're only in Christianity and you haven't actually looked into it. No. Lots of Muslims have near-death experiences where they experience Muslim imagery, right? They see Muhammad. They see.
I've never heard one.
Yeah, well, I know that you haven't heard one. How many Muslims have you talked to about this?
I just said I've never seen any evidence of that. You only hear about the Christ one. Even on people's pages that pop up on the internet.
You only hear about the Christian ones because that's all you are looking into. How many Muslim NDEs reported per year?
Can I ask you a question?
No database. Clinical survivors. So there was a study done in Iran, where 19 different Muslims reported NDEs that confirmed their Muslim religion. There's a study in Central Asia, where 78% of the Muslim patients that they interviewed reported experiencing a near-death experience. There was a study in Indonesia. 98% of them identified as Muslim, and the vast majority cited an increase in religious devotion post-NDE. So they talked to a whole bunch of people in Indonesia, 98% of which were Muslim, and those 98% people, the vast majority of them said that after having their Muslim-affirming NDE, they became more devout in their religion. So this is a normal thing that happens. I'm sure if we looked it up, we could find tons of Hindu people who've had near-death experiences where they experienced Hindu gods. I'm sure lots of Native Americans have had near-death experiences where they experience their gods. Like, this is just a common thing that happens in every religion. And it sounds like your claim is, if someone has a near-death experience, then the religious conclusions that they draw from that that near-death experience must be true. So then that would mean that we have to believe in Hinduism, in Islam, and Judaism, and every other religion where people have had NDEs.
So you listen again. We're engaging in conversation. The answer to a question does not define my whole position or statement on how I
Right,
feel
but we can only discuss one point at a time, one argument at a time.
Absolutely.
And so each thing that you're
fair point by you. Fair point by you. But I like as far as I've never heard of it, and this is the first time I've ever heard it. To be honest, is you saying that. So, to be honest,
okay,
it's hard for me to prove something faith-based to you in a factual way.
Okay, well, do you have any arguments or evidence that would give us reason to believe in God?
Wow. Like I said, it's hard for me to describe something that I feel faith-based because absolutely you would have a scientific, physical argument against it. And I absolutely probably would not be victorious. However, it is something that I categorically feel in my heart, my soul, and things happen that that people would say are not random. So
yeah, but
you would say that happens for everyone, and I agree that happens for everyone. But I can't speak for everyone. I just wanted to engage in conversation with you, brother. That's all. You answer your questions. You were looking for a Christian person to talk to, and I took it serious and wanted to engage in the conversation with you. That's all.
Well, I appreciate you taking it seriously, Megatron, and I appreciate you having an honest conversation. I definitely do. So please don't take my bluntness as an indication that I don't appreciate that.
Listen, wanting to convert you are two different things, my brother. So look, I just want you to have a good night, and I hope God blesses you, even if you don't believe in Him, friend.
All right. Well, yeah, you have a great night too, and I hope that you stop believing in fairy tales. Take care. All right. So if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. I guess we'll engage in a little bit of masochism here. Hey, Deathless, you're going to have to remind me what God you believe in.
God Simpliciter.
Okay, so you're just like a general theist?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know why. I guess I just assumed that you were Christian, but that's probably on me, just being biased or something, so my bad. Yeah, what kind of argument or evidence would you like to discuss?
Sure. So God is the set of all logically possible worlds, and if the set of all logically possible...
Hold on. I need you to go slow enough so that I can write these things down. So God is the set of all logically...
Of all logically possible worlds.
Oh, no, nope. That's not a definition of God that fits anything that I'm here to engage about. I'm just talking about
that's Spinoza's definition. That's Spinoza's definition.
Okay, so what I'm here to talk about is the idea
that's my definition.
Yep.
I could demonstrate it.
Yep, and I'm just saying
Can I
that
demonstrate my position?
No, when I'm trying to explain something to you, Deathless.
Well, you're in panic mode because you know you'll lose because you admit this set of all logically possible worlds exists, so you admit God exists.
Right. So then what we would be having is a semantic discussion, and I'm not interested in a semantic debate. So I appreciate you just being so upfront.
All logic is the art of discussing semantics. That's
the point. That's simply not the case. But I appreciate you being honest and letting me know right away that your conversation wouldn't be on topic.
Semantics is discussing.
So I just want to be.
non-meanings. That's a contradiction.
I just want to be. I just want to be clear why I'm dropping you. So I just tried to give you an explanation. Didn't sound like you even wanted to hear that. So yeah, what he's talking about does not fit the definition of a God. No, I'm with you, Radio Spencer. Typically, I won't bring him up, but I thought maybe, but yeah, clearly, like I said, what he believes in doesn't fit the definition of a God that I'm willing to talk about. And then all we would be talking about is just how we should define God, right? And that's not an interesting conversation. Certainly not a conversation I'm interested in having. Well, I'll give you that, Colette. I typically, I would say of the amount of times that he requests, I probably bring him up like, I don't know, 25% of the time at most. It's just not worth anybody's time, honestly. Butter and Jelly, I'm still not really looking to have sex with you, so I don't know. Okay. No, I don't blame you, Colette. I don't blame you. I do not blame you. Imagine what it's like having to be the people actually talking to that guy. It's rough. It's not a good time. So yeah, Butter and Jelly, I'm probably just not going to bring you up because I'm not really, this isn't really like a phone sex line. So I'll probably just, try to talk to actual serious interlocutors. So if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus, that you believe in a God, and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hyrule, how old are you? Nothing? Bueller?
Oh, sorry, that was by accident. My bad.
Okay, have a good one. Really? No. No. Ah. Okay. All right. Hi, Noah. You still Christian?
Hey, Ogar. Yeah.
That's too bad. I got in my notes from our last conversation. I have kind of just chatted, so I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire for a debate this time.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as you might remember from our last conversation,
I don't.
I'm particularly interested. I'm particularly interested in how atheists justify moral truth claims. And I remember you telling me when it comes to that sort of thing that you would consider yourself a moral realist. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, and more specifically, an ethical naturalist.
Okay, heard.
That's just the type of moral realism that I subscribe to.
I suppose. Yeah, well, I guess what I want to attempt kind of on those grounds is not necessarily to give a deductive proof for God, but to try and articulate a rational justification within a coherent metaphysical framework. So I just want to make sure that we're understanding more realism on the same grounds, right? So the idea of more realism is that there are objective truths that are mind independent, right? They're independent of the human mind. They're always true regardless of opinion. Is that what you would claim?
Yeah, I would say that total brain fart. I would say that moral claims have truth makers that or the truth makers for moral claims are in mind and language independent reality. That's the way I think I would want to say it.
Okay, and I think we agree on that. So following from that, what I would say is, to say something like, for some of your prompts is like, God is fiction or God doesn't exist, right? We're kind of presupposing certain things when we say something like that, right? Like that.
I disagree.
That truth is. Okay, tell me about that.
I just don't think that I have to presuppose anything. I'm like, do you know what Cartesian skepticism is?
No, I'm not familiar.
So the term Cartesian skepticism, and if I'm using this term wrong, somebody call me out because I don't mean to be misinforming anybody. But my understanding is that Cartesian skepticism is because the cogito, right? I think, therefore I am.
Yes.
Okay, so that full quote is actually, I doubt, therefore I think, I think, therefore I am. So that is like the Descartes' whole mission, or well, not his whole mission, but like one of the things that he set out to do was to say, okay, let's say that I doubt literally everything that I believe. I doubt it all. Is there anything that I can believe in without having to make a presupposition, without having to base on something that I can't prove? And what he came up with was, well, if I'm doubting, then that means that I'm having thoughts. And if I'm having thoughts, then that means that I'm having an experience. And if I'm having an experience in any meaningful way, which it seems that I am, then in some capacity or other, I must exist. Something that I can call me must exist. And so that's like this kind of foundational thing. Anyway, the reason I say that is that the whole idea that, or the reason that Descartes went there was because he was engaging in what we would now call Cartesian skepticism, which is saying, I'm going to doubt literally everything that I believe and build my belief system up from the ground up. And I've done that at least 3 times in my life. I did that when I was 15. I did it again in my early 20s, and then I did it again over the last like 8-9 months. So like this is a project that I'm consistently embarking on. I probably did it in between there, but I can't think of specific instances. But this is the kind of thing that I think is important to do regularly, is to strip every belief and every position away and try to say, where is the foundation and what can I build up from there? And so like I would disagree that in any of my positions that there are presuppositions, because I've worked so fucking hard to make sure that I don't have any.
Okay, maybe I'll push a little on that, because to say something like God doesn't exist or God is fiction, it seems to me that at least presupposes that truth exists.
No.
Do we agree on that?
No, it's not presupposing truth exists. It's just subsequent to already having confirmed that truth exists. That's not a presupposition.
I feel I don't know. I fail to see how that isn't a presupposition, but maybe that's kind of talking.
Maybe I'm being pedantic. I mean, I guess if you want to call it like a presupposition in the argument, I guess, like I guess I could see like a way that maybe that those semantics could be fit to the situation. But what I'm trying to say is that when I make a claim like God is fiction, I'm not assuming that truth can exist without God. I've confirmed that truth can exist without God.
Right, and we do agree on that. But I guess at the root of that is like, okay, in order for objective truth to exist at all, like what must the reality be?
There just
right,
has
like
to.
What are the what would you call it?
The only preconditions for truth are that a reality exists and that there are minds who have conceptual propositions about reality. Those are the only 2 preconditions that are necessary. So if the external world exists, which I believe that it does, I don't think that I'm a brain in a vat. So if the external world exists and there are minds that have propositional attitudes about reality, which I believe that at the very least humans have propositional attitudes about reality, the vast majority of us anyway. And so those are the 2 preconditions for truth met, as far as I'm concerned. Because what I would say truth is simply, truth is the property of a proposition that accurately corresponds to reality. That's all I think truth is.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Okay. Well, that does not require a God to exist in order for that to exist, or for that to, occur.
Right. And remember, I'm not trying to give a deductive proof. What I'm really trying to say is that I believe that theism, at the very least, not necessarily Christianity, gives the most unified explanation for the idea of objective truths, moral obligation, and that's what I want to try and work through, right? Because
okay, well, what's the justification
say,
that
for instance,
theism?
Naturalism.
Well, just don't talk about naturalism. I just want to hear the argument for how theism is able to do a better job. Like, I don't need to hear I already know how I can, ground truth on a naturalistic view. I need to know why the theistic view is better.
Well, because it's not evident to me that naturalism, gives a better explanation for why normative truths have like objective
this
force,
isn't
like
Noah. This
in
isn't
the
responding.
reality that we live in.
This isn't responding to the question that I asked you. All you're doing now is giving an argument from ignorance or an argument from incredulity. Maybe you're saying I don't know the naturalistic explanation for X, therefore there must be a God-related explanation for X. But that's not an argument. That's just asserting your incredulity or your ignorance.
Well, yeah. What I'm proposing is that an argument from God's nature seems more possible.
Okay, but you need to just give the argument, Noah. Just give the argument. I'm asking you to stop talking about the argument and give it.
Yeah, well, okay. Just give me 1 second.
That's what I'm saying, Philo Dragon. I'm sorry?
Well, I just think the existence of
That's
moral
fine.
truth.
Yep, and I think that you're
just-
wrong. So now we're at an impasse. So now the only way that we can move forward is to get the argument. So please just give the argument.
Well, it's simply an argument from God's nature.
Yeah, give
Right.
the argument. You're still
'Cause
just
I'm
Noah.
interested in the
Noah.
way that-
Noah. Do you understand the difference between talking about an argument and giving the argument?
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, the
so
argument is that
I'm asking you to stop
objective truth
talking. I'm asking you
exists.
to stop talking about your argument and just give the argument. I'm not going to listen to any more discussion about the argument. I want to hear the argument.
Right, and my argument is simply the existence of moral truths is dependent upon God's nature.
No, that's not an argument. That's the claim that you're supposed to be giving an argument for. I'm still waiting for the argument. Because I could just say that, truth doesn't require God. Okay, well, based on your standards here, I've now given an argument for why we don't need God for truth. But I would totally disagree. That's not an argument for why we don't need God for truth. That's just stating a claim. And that's all you've done so far, is just state claims. I'm fine. I don't need you to state your claims anymore. I just want to hear the argument. As Philo Dragon pointed out, simply stating that you've solved a problem in philosophy doesn't mean you've solved the problem.
Well, yeah, I'm simply saying that theism compared to things like naturalism.
Yeah, but you haven't given the argument, Noah. Just give the argument. Okay, I'm genuinely, I know based on my notes, the last time we talked, we had a really good conversation, but we're not having a good conversation this time, Noah. This is going really, really badly, and I'm getting frustrated. So here's what we're going to do now. So either the next thing that you say is going to be you presenting this argument, or the next thing you say is going to be anything else, in which case I will just move on.
All right, man. Yeah, you can move on.
Okay, so you understand that means that you don't have an argument, right? You're acknowledging that you don't have an argument? Because your options here are for me to move on or for you to actually give your argument. And if you're saying that the one you want to take is for me to move on, then it sounds like you're an admission that you don't actually have an argument for your position. Is that correct?
I would say I have a rational justification.
Yeah, what's the argument that provides that rational justification? That's all I've been asking for, Noah. You haven't provided it. All you've done is assert your position over and 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 over again. I don't need you to assert your position again. I need you to give the argument. Do you have an argument?
I'm just saying that from a perspective of a
Do
more
you
realist,
have
there
an
is
argument?
a rational.
Do you have an argument? Or can you only just
Not
state
one
your
that
position
I
again?
can articulate, I guess, to your standards right now.
It's not about my standards. You haven't even tried to give an argument, Noah.
Well,
It would be one thing if you had like given an argument and then I said that doesn't meet my standards. Then you could say, well, I guess I don't have an argument that meets your standards. But that's not what's happening here. You just haven't given an argument. It's not. I am not saying your argument doesn't meet my standards. I'm saying there is no argument yet. So I'll ask the question again. Do you actually have an argument?
I guess no.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
No, hey, I mean, at least you were finally honest about it. I appreciate and respect that. So what I'm going to recommend that you do, Noah, because I do think that you're a decent person. I enjoy talking with you. It's not that I don't, but I just want to make sure that we're actually having a substantive discussion. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to actually think about this, put some time into it, come up with an actual argument that supports your position and doesn't just state your position, and then come back in a couple weeks or something and we'll talk about it again, okay?
All right, man. Have a good night.
All right, take care of yourself, man. I mean it. Good kid. We weren't getting anywhere. Okay. All right. Where are we at? Ooh. What do you want, y'all? Hey, look at me. What do we think? Do we just want to crash out to end the night, or should I actually try to see if I can have a good conversation? What do you guys think? I put you to sleep, art student? Oof, brutal. Yeah, so the question is, should we try to have a conversation, or should we just do we just get a crash out? Attempt a real conversation or have a crash out. Those are our options here. You damn right Minnesota did. Minnesota's the best. I'm hearing crash out and real conversation. Oh, I'm seeing more real conversations. All right. So we'll attempt to have a real conversation instead of just, bringing up a crash out artist. All right. So if you're 18 plus, or if you're in the guest queue, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that will provide rational justification of believing to God. I see what you did there, Butterfly Tsunami, but I don't think that's going to work out. I don't think I can't quite do that. But okay. So we will bring up Jason, it looks like. That's the next person on the list that I don't already know would just immediately crash out. Hi, Jason, how old are you?
24.
Okay, do you believe in a God?
Yeah, I define God to be like immaterial and a necessary being, and my argument is the uncaused causer.
Okay, do you believe in the Christian God?
I will not assign morality, not the Christian God, just an uncaused causer.
I didn't say anything about morality. I'm just asking which God you believe in.
Just an uncaused causer. I don't have any like religious description.
Okay. So then I just need you to renounce Jesus and say that, he is no one's savior and is never coming back.
Yeah, I'm not convinced. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I told you what I need you to say. Please say it so that I know that you're not just lying to me, or at least have more reason to think you're not just lying to me.
Okay, I renounce him. He's not coming back to save anybody.
And he's never saved anybody?
No.
Okay. And Muhammad is a pedophile prophet that no one should follow?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, Aisha was 6, consummated marriage when she was 9.
And?
No one should follow him. I think it's an immoral religion.
All right, fair enough. So many Christians come up here and lie about saying that they're not Christian, and then they just automatically, just immediately show that they're Christian, and I'm just sick of the bullshit, so I'm just trying to weed through that. So I appreciate you humoring me.
I think the Trinity is pretty illogical, so.
Yeah, obviously. So now the thing that I don't understand, well, maybe you're giving a different formulation. So what is the formulation of the argument that you want to give?
I would say that everything inside the universe has a cause.
Oh, so you're just
And
going with the kalam? Everything that begins to exist as a cause, the universe began to exist, therefore the universe has a cause?
yeah, I'd say that, and also the argument of motion. I think those are the two that get me.
Well, and by motion you just mean change?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess it'd be like uncaused cause or an unmoved mover.
Okay. So, well, okay. If you, what is the argument from change that you want to give?
I think that, you know, things don't change without like like a prior cause to change, like on some Newton's second law. Like something has to cause something to change, and we have change. Therefore, something else has to cause it, and I don't think an infinite regress can be possible. Therefore, there has to be a godlike figure.
Okay, so things don't change without a prior cause to change. Change exists. There can't be an infinite regress of changes. Conclusion, there was an uncaused change. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Sure. So if there was an uncaused change, then that means that it was an arbitrary random change, not a decision that a being made. So this is incompatible with a
god. You're right. Yeah, that's I would say that the only way I can induce that God has a will, well, I would say I think the change had to make the decision to make that change. That's how I view it.
Right. So the first uncaused change was God changing from not wanting to make the universe to wanting to make the universe. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I would say God exists outside of time, but I think that was a conscious decision.
Okay. What was the uncaused change?
The creation of the mass or the singularity for the Big Bang, I'd say.
Okay, so there was no cause for the creation of the mass for that resulted in the Big Bang?
I would say that was God's like first thing. That's my current understanding.
No. Hold on. What is the specific uncaused thing? Was the Big Bang caused, in your view?
I believe it was caused by God, yes.
Okay, so that's not the uncaused change. What is the uncaused change?
The creation of matter, I guess.
Okay, so the creation of matter does not have a cause.
I don't believe so. Yeah. Well, it would be
okay.
God.
So
it would be God.
Okay, so then that's a caused change. What's the uncaused change?
I guess yeah, it would be God deciding to do that.
Okay, so God did not have a reason he decided to create the universe. It was just some random arbitrary thing that happened in his mind?
I don't know if I can answer that.
Well, that has to be your position here. That has to be your position. Because if you're saying that God had a reason, then it wasn't uncaused, it was caused by the reason. And so then we need to find what the actual uncaused change was. So did God have a reason to make the universe, or was it some arbitrary thing that he wasn't in control of?
I mean, if God wanted to do it, I think that's a sufficient reason.
Was God in control of that?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, then it was caused somehow by God because he was controlling it. So what was the uncaused thing? So we still haven't found the uncaused change.
Well, I guess it'll be the existence of God.
Okay, so God used to not exist, and then he began existing, and his existence doesn't have a cause?
I have to argue that God is beyond time, so I'd have to argue he's always there.
Okay, so then that isn't the uncaused change, so we're still searching for the uncaused change.
I see your point. I think you make a... I guess it'll... Yeah, I see your point. I guess it'll be uncaused within science. I guess I'd have to restate it like that.
Okay, so there isn't an uncaused change, is what you're saying.
I cannot think of one right now, and I think you've made a good point. I'd concede that. I'd have to say uncaused within science.
Okay, right. So, but then we're just... Then all you're really saying is that whatever caused the universe, in your view, is just something that we haven't discovered by science yet. And I don't think that you can claim that it can't be discovered by science unless you have some argument for that.
My argument for that would be science studies that which already exists.
No, it
and
doesn't.
Since we're talking about...
That's not true.
I mean, it doesn't discuss matter which like already exists. Am I confused?
No, I'm saying that there are branches of science that discuss things that investigate and research things that don't already exist. Like theoretical physics is a huge branch of science, right? Like, do you agree that physics is part of science?
Yeah, of course.
Do you agree that theoretical physics is part of physics?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so obviously there's a big chunk of science that one specifically that deals with, investigating things that don't already exist. So it's not the case that science exclusively deals with things that already exist.
I mean, but there's an obvious difference between the questions that science deals with and the questions that like metaphysics and like philosophy deals with. Would you not agree?
I mean, I could say that there are like different questions in philosophy than in science, to some degree at least, but both are just trying to like find out things about reality. But what I'm asking for is like, what would be...
Okay, I think I can give an example. Like, I would say this is a question inside of philosophy, outside of science. Why does existence exist? I think that's a philosophical question, not scientific. Would you agree?
That's fine, but if your answer to why existence exists instead of not existing is God, then all you've done is push the question back a step, and now we have to say, why does God exist instead of not existing?
I would define him as the necessary being, and I guess he would define the universe as a necessary being, maybe.
Okay, yeah, but again, you're saying that there's this question of why does the universe exist instead of not existing. But isn't there also the exact same question about God? And it still would be unanswered. So why, if you're saying that the answer to the question, why does the universe exist instead of not existing is God, then we still need an answer to the question, why does God exist instead of not existing?
I would define him as the necessary being. And
right.
That would be my response to that question.
Right. So then if we just say that the universe is necessary, which it would have to be if it's grounded in a necessary being, and so if the universe is necessary, and you're saying that necessary things don't need further explanations for why they exist, then we don't need an explanation for why the universe exists.
Yeah, but if it's only the universe that's the necessary being that exists, don't you think that science can answer that question of why the universe exists rather than not?
I mean, if you're stipulating it as a metaphysical, philosophical question, and we're saying that metaphysical, philosophical questions are outside the realm of science, then it seems like the reasonable conclusion there would be no, that wouldn't be something science would investigate. And I would say that science does typically tend to deal with more empirical things. So, I mean, I don't know if there is now or would be in the future a branch of science that could investigate why the universe exists at all. But again, if we're saying that this is a philosophical question of why does the universe exist instead of not exist, I can accept that. I can say, yeah, this isn't a scientific question. This is a philosophical question. And then we're saying, okay, is this a question that needs an answer? I think that's what we're discussing right now. Does this question of why does the universe exist instead of not existing actually require an answer? And it sounds like your position is, if the universe is necessary, then no, that question doesn't require an answer.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. I don't really have a response to that.
Okay.
Can I make one more claim? Going off the path.
I lost you. You still there, Jason?
And like naturalism.
I lost you for a bit there. You're gonna have to say that again.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, if I can make an argument for like the truth of like naturalism and like I'm not familiar with how you define like how you get to truth from a secular perspective, but my argument would be this. I think that truth from, if you believe in a God that makes the universe have order, I think truth is stronger than the naturalist perspective because of the problem of induction.
No, I think the problem of induction is worse for a theist than it is for naturalists.
I'm unaware of that. Can you explain?
So if there is a God that exists that has the capacity to interact with reality to any degree, then we would have to conclude that the uniformity of nature is whether or not whether or not uniformity holds in the universe is determined by the whims of God. So we should not expect uniformity from one moment to another. So because as far as I know, the only ways to get around the problem of induction are things like Bayesian reasoning, and then, using probability to say like, should we expect, the constants to continue being uniform? But if a God exists that has the capacity to interact with reality, then all that probability goes out the window, and we should say that we have no idea whether physical constants or any aspect of reality will hold from one moment to the next. Because whether or not it does hold from one moment to the next is based on the whims of God. And so if God decides that gravity is just going to get 20 times stronger tomorrow than it is today, well, then gravity will be 20 times stronger tomorrow. And we have no way of predicting whether that'll happen. We have no way of calculating a probability for that to happen. We have no way of generalizing from specific cases, which is what induction is, about whether or not that will happen or whether anything else will be the same tomorrow as it is today, because there's a God. Now, if there is no God, and instead we live in a reality that is governed by some like underlying natural structure, well, then it would be reasonable for us to think that tomorrow things will be basically the same as they are today.
So when you make the point of like God can like change universal constants tomorrow, that is true in a theistic perspective. But I would argue that that possibility also exists in the secular perspective, because like, oh, just because the past experiments have yielded that gravitational constant is X, there's no solid reason to believe it'll stay the same. So I think that issue exists in both frameworks.
No, there's probability. We have probabilistic reasoning for why we would think that things will be the same tomorrow as they are today under a naturalistic view. But we cannot appeal to that probabilistic reasoning if a God exists.
Well, I would say for the naturalistic perspective, when you get these probabilities, you run experiments either in the present or in the past. But when we're asking questions about the future, I can make the argument your experiments were made in the present or in the past, therefore they're not valid for statements of the future.
Yeah, you're not understanding what I'm saying. I'm saying that we can make probabilistic predictions. We cannot say for certain what will happen, but we can say we have this degree of confidence based on the probability of things being uniform. So at least under a naturalistic view, we have some degree of ability to do that. Under the theistic view, we have no ability to do that.
My point would be like your experiments in the naturalist perspective, I would say that they're not valid because they're only done in the past.
Yes, but you have that exact same problem under theism and the worst problem of God being able to change things on a whim. So theism doesn't get you out of the problem you're pointing out in naturalism, and instead it adds another problem. So you have a bigger problem for induction under theism than under naturalism.
I can see that point, and my only counter to that would be that if we assume that God makes the universe have order, and then we say what's a miracle and what's not a miracle, then like, yeah, the miracle happens tomorrow.
Right. And if I just assume that there's a naturalistic structure that keeps everything uniform and it will continue keeping everything uniform forever, well, then I can get out of the problem of induction too. Like if you get to if you just get to assume that induction isn't a problem under your view, then I don't see why I can't make the same move.
I guess my point would be this. You would agree that you assume that the universe has order to escape the problem of induction to get to truth? Or you say truth is probabilistic in your view?
No, truth isn't probabilistic. Uniformity, the likelihood of uniformity continuing is probabilistic.
I'm sorry, you said truth is not probabilistic?
No, you could say that, like, I mean, it depends on what you mean by is truth probabilistic, because when I'm saying...
Like physics claims.
Yeah, so then you're not asking if truth is probabilistic, you're asking if the truth of those specific claims is probabilistic, and that's what I'm saying it is. Yes.
Yeah, scientific fact.
Yes, all scientific facts are only true probabilistically. They're true tentatively. Yeah. That is the nature of science.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Okay, and then like.
But again, what I'm saying, Jason, is that under the theistic view, you still have to take that approach. If you want to try to see, have any justification for thinking that the laws of nature are uniform, but then you also have to add an extra assumption on top that even though God could just change reality at any moment on a whim, he won't. So you have the exact same problem that naturalists have, and an additional problem that you can't solve the way the naturalistic problem is solved.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for the conversation.
Jason, I am genuinely so glad that chat told me to try to have a real conversation instead of the crash out, because this is the exact kind of conversation that the reason I do these lives is to have these kinds of conversations. I feel like this was an honest engagement. Genuinely, like, I feel like you're a very good faith interlocutor. I hope I am lucky enough that you take some time, think about this, come up with some killer fucking arguments, and that you come back and roast me.
All right, perfect. I'm going to follow it and hope I can talk to you later.
Fantastic. I hope that you do as well. You have a great rest of your night. Like I said, exactly the kind of conversations I want to have. W's in the chat. W's in the chat for that guest, for Jason. I'm putting in my notes. Good faith. Fantastic. Exactly the kind of conversations I want to have. Yeah, what the fuck is with these bots? Like, what the fuck? Yeah, like, I saw like 800 people watching. I doubt that there are 800 people watching. And 176,000 likes. I don't think that I have 176,000, 178,000 likes. Yeah, the bots are crushing it. Now I just need those bots to start like sending gifts. Are there actual bots in here? Oh, yeah, I'm fine with you blocking the bots as long as you know that somebody's a bot. I'm fine with that. Like, I don't care. Hey, thanks, Art Student, for your 5,000 likes. That helps a lot. Hey! I fucking love this one. I'm breathing fire, man. Like, like when else am I ever gonna be this fucking cool? This is so bad. This is like my favorite thing on TikTok is these fucking animations. Right? Like, when else am I gonna get to breathe fire? I know that this is like fucking crazy, like cringe of me. That's fine. I don't care. I'm having a good time. I think that's fucking hilarious. All right. It is after 10 p.m. here in the Central Time Zone, so I am going to call it for a night. But thank you so much, everybody. The real people who are here. Jesus. I thank you so much for the people who are actually here on YouTube and on TikTok. Thank you so much for the gifts. Obviously, Philo Dragon, thank you so much. Whiskey Tango. I can't read that name. I'm so sorry. Nobody on Fire, spelled with a, what was it? Spelled with a silent something. 7? Oh, I like that one. I remember reading that one before. Oompa Loompa, Nobody on Fire, Midnight Zoomies, Atheist Cat, Rooster Boy, Radio Spencer, Lupine, Lem. Thank you everybody so much for the support. Genuinely, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. It's a lot. But as I say at the end of all of my streams, just remember that tomorrow is not guaranteed. No matter how uniform the universe is, tomorrow is not guaranteed. So you don't know how many opportunities you're going to have left to let your family and friends know how much you love them. So make sure that you do that. Tell them that you love them, you care. Take the opportunity to hug them so that you don't have any regrets